Now as the weight of the first wheel goes onto the turntable, you'll see it shake. It might drop down just an inch or so. These are the driving wheels going on now. Now the trailing wheel underneath the firebox. And now the tender itself. Here goes the last wheel onto the turntable. Engineer Hunt is being very careful at this point, because when we make our spot with number 4501 on this 80-foot turntable, there's only maybe a foot or so on either side of that last wheel, and the couplers will be hanging over. We ask you just step back behind that yellow line just for your own safety, as the locomotive is going to be turned around now. So there's our spot on the turntable. Now we're going to rotate. You may have noticed that we pulled onto the turntable from track number 1. Once we rotate 180 degrees, we will line up with the adjacent track. We'll pull off the turntable, drive down past the train, go through a switch, and then back up and reconnect onto the other end of our train. Now you're looking at world-famous steam locomotive number 4501, built in 1911 for the Southern Railroad, used by the Southern up to about 1948. At that time, it would have been scrapped, but it was purchased secondhand by the Kentucky and Tennessee Railroad in Stearns, Kentucky. They were looking for a large steam locomotive, and they had a use for steam engines because they had their own coal mines, had their own fuel source. They used 4501 from 1948 up until 1964. It was Kentucky and Tennessee number 12. 1964, the railroad, the K&T Railroad, finally dieselized with second-hand diesel locomotives, diesel electrics, and 4501 became available. It was purchased in 1964 by Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum's first president, Paul Merriman, for $5,000. He was able to talk the railroad into moving it down to Chattanooga. And guess what day it moved to Chattanooga? June 6, 1964. Does that date sound familiar? June 6? Hey, that's today, right? 56 years ago today, it came down from Stearns, Kentucky, and kind of started another career as an excursion locomotive. It was restored to operation in 1966 and leased back to the Southern Railroad, returned as number 4501 once again. Now, it ran in excursion service sporadically up until 1994, at which time we thought it would be retired forever. Well, in 2011, Norfolk Southern announced its 21st Century Steam program, and they wanted number 4501 to be a part of that. So this engine was restored to operation. It rolled out in 2014, and it's been running ever since, so we're thrilled to see it run once again. We do offer a DVD history of this locomotive, a documentary called And Then There Was One, that's available in our gift shop. I think the price was $14.95, and it's an excellent value and has all the history of this engine. Well worth it. Now, just quickly, I wanted to tell you a little bit of history about the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. We talked about the history of this line. The Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum is a nonprofit educational corporation founded in 1961. Our mission is to preserve, restore, and operate historic railroading equipment. Southern Railroad donated this property to the Railroad Museum in 1968. We started rebuilding the tracks, made it up to and through the tunnel. By the early 1970s, by the mid-70s, made it to Tunnel Boulevard, where there had been an underpass